Welcome to the Quantum AI Coach podcast. I'm Gina, founder of Virtual World Coaching Academy.
Imagine for a second that you are the lead architect on a multi-million-pound skyscraper.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right, so you've sourced the absolute best materials, you've drawn up the most brilliant engineering blueprints, and you hired a top-tier construction crew.
Everything above ground looks completely pristine, I imagine.
Exactly. It's sleek, it's highly functional, completely state-of-the-art, but beneath the surface, under all that gleaming glass and steel, you've chosen to build this masterpiece on a foundation of shifting sand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a terrifying image, honestly.
Right.
Because, it doesn't matter how beautiful the building is or, how perfectly designed those upper floors are. The moment the wind picks up or the environment shifts even slightly, that structure is going to sway.
It has to.
Yeah, and eventually the foundation gives and the whole thing just cracks.
And that cracking, that is exactly what we are exploring in today's deep dive. We are looking at a very specific and honestly very frustrating phenomenon where incredibly high-performing leaders, people who have all the drive and all the right strategies, they hit what is known as the invisible feeling of compromise.
Right, that invisible feeling.
Yeah. Every single time they approach a new level of success or a new tier of income or even a new level of visibility, everything just mysteriously resets.
The team falls apart or the founder burns out.
Exactly. The operations crumble.
Which I think brings us right to the mission of our deep dive today. We are pulling from this really fascinating stack of research, clinical notes, and operational frameworks developed by Gina Pickersgill.
Yes.
And we are going to unpack the actual biological mechanics behind this invisible ceiling. We're looking deeply at nervous system capacity and the absolute necessity of what she calls sovereign boundaries.
Because if your internal system is wired to perceive a client's temporary discomfort as a literal threat to your own survival, well, your skyscraper is going to sway every single time.
Every time. And I think we need to ground this conversation right away in what this actually is and, what it isn't.
Yeah, please do, because this isn't about business plans, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
What you and I are doing today is not about generic business strategy. If you are hitting this ceiling, it is not because you need a new marketing funnel, and it's definitely not a flaw in your intelligence or your work ethic.
Right.
Today is about recognizing that feeling stuck is it's a nervous system capacity problem. Our goal is to help you, the listener, stop over-delivering simply to maintain the peace. It is the profound realization that you aren't broken. You are merely patterned.
I want to just linger on that phrase for a second. Not broken, merely patterned.
It's so powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because if this isn't a strategy problem, if these founders have the best funnels and the absolute best teams, what is fundamentally breaking down beneath the surface?
Yeah.
Why on earth would our own internal system actively sabotage our ability to scale?
Right, because consciously, we all want it.
Exactly. On a conscious level, we all want the success, right? We all want the automated, smooth-running business.
We want it consciously, yes. But it really comes down to biology. Specifically, the fact that your nervous system is biologically programmed for one primary objective, and that objective is survival.
Just survival, not scaling.
Right, not scale, not wealth, not global impact. It is a highly tuned machine designed to keep you safe, and this is keep predictable.
Okay, predictably safe.
Yeah, and for many high performers, early life experiences taught them a very specific hidden lesson about what safety actually looks like.
What kind of hidden lessons are we talking about here?
So often, it's the lesson that being resourced or being highly visible or holding immense value, it came with massive strings attached.
Oh, interesting.
For instance, maybe as a child, you were only praised when you performed perfectly. You became the parentified child, the one who fixed everyone else's problems.
Right, the fixer.
Exactly. Or if you did receive attention, it felt precarious, like the love and safety could be revoked the absolute second you dropped a ball or disappointed someone.
Wow.
So the brain wires this deep connection. Having value means I must constantly overperform to keep my value.
Okay, so fast forward to your business today. You build this amazing company, and you decide, okay, it's time to scale. You try to automate. You try to step back and just, trust a system or a team.
And your brain just absolutely panics.
Because it thinks you're dropping the ball.
Because it equates stepping back with losing control. And in the primal, ancient language of the nervous system, losing control equals losing safety.
It's like driving a sports car.
Yeah.
Right? with the emergency brake completely locked.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Like, you were pushing the gas with all your conscious strategy, but the brake, your nervous system, is just holding you back.
Yes. Your system views your conscious desire for a hands-off, automated business as a literal, physical threat to your sovereignty. It is actually doing a very, quote-unquote, intelligent job of keeping you small. Because small is a baseline it recognizes. Small is predictable.
So it's less like a mechanical failure in the business and more like an autoimmune response in the body.
Oh, exactly.
Because the immune system's entire job is to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets confused or, dysregulated, it looks at healthy new tissue. So in this case, business growth, new revenue, a bigger team, and it misidentifies it as a deadly virus.
Yes, so it attacks it.
It attacks a healthy growth to
Yeah.
return the system to a baseline it recognizes.
That is a brilliant way to look at it.
Yeah.
You are fighting a biological defense mechanism that genuinely thinks it is saving your life by tearing down your business.
That's wild. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a minute, drawing on some of the friction Gina Pickersgill highlights in her own journey.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs, and I mean myself included sometimes, we look at the manual labor we do, the manual coaching, answering every single email personally, jumping on a Sunday Zoom call, just touching every single part of the process.
Right, the hustle.
Yeah, and we call that being heart-centered. We tell ourselves, I'm doing this because I value human connection. I don't want my clients talking to a system. I want them talking to me.
I hear that all the time.
So how do we differentiate between genuine, dedicated customer service and this, autoimmune sabotage?
This is where we have to get radically, radically honest with ourselves. And what is fascinating here is the lengths to which our brains will go to justify our survival pattern.
Because it sounds so noble, right? I'm just heart-centered.
Exactly. And Gina had that exact same revelation in her own work. She realized that hiding behind this shield of human connection was, in reality, a trauma response completely disguised as customer service.
A trauma response disguised as customer service.
do.
Wow. Okay, how does she define the difference mechanically?
It really comes down to the underlying motivation. Genuine customer service is expansive, right? It is a choice made from a place of sufficiency.
Okay.
But the trauma response is restrictive. It is driven by terror.
Terror.
Yes, terror. It stems from a deep-seated terror that if you aren't the one physically touching every single gear, the whole machine will just stop. It's the subconscious belief that you do not possess any inherent value unless you are actively bleeding for your business.
Yeah, and that's heavy.
And sacrificing your own boundaries just to ensure no one is ever slightly inconvenienced.
So if I'm answering that email at 11:00 p.m., I'm not doing it because I love my client so much. I'm doing it because my nervous system cannot tolerate the anxiety of letting them wait until 9 a.m.
Exactly.
So I am soothing my own anxiety, not serving the client.
Yes. You are managing your own biological discomfort under the guise of being a good leader. And Gina's notes point out an incredibly powerful, almost haunting reality about this dynamic. Without shifting this internal capacity, your business doesn't actually grow. It simply becomes a louder, more expensive version of your own nervous system.
A louder, more expensive version of your nervous system. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
Because if your internal baseline is frantic and anxious and boundaryless, your business operations will be frantic, anxious, and boundaryless, just on a much larger, more costly scale with way higher stakes.
Precisely. Which brings us to a critical pivot in all this. If manual labor is actually a symptom of our capacity limits, rather than a sign of how much we truly care, how do we transition?
Yeah. How do you shift your identity so you can actually hold the wealth and the scale you want without your internal immune system attacking it?
Well, the source material describes this as moving from operating in the trenches to governing from the heights.
Governing from the heights.
Yeah.
But for a listener who has spent their entire career in the trenches, where being the hardest worker in the room was their absolute superpower, how do they make that leap?
It requires a profound identity shift.
Yeah.
You have to stop asking the question, how do I work harder?
Because the trenches are entirely focused on output and effort.
Exactly. Governing from the heights means asking a completely different question. Who do I need to become to manage a sovereign, automated ecosystem?
Who do I need to become?
Yes. You have to learn how to steward a business instead of just doing the labor within it. And this leads to what Gina calls a quantum truth.
Okay, before we drop the quantum truth, let's just make sure we are clear on the language here. When we say quantum truth, we aren't talking about mysticism, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
We are talking about a foundational, indivisible rule of how scalable systems operate.
Yes, a fundamental paradigm shift. And the truth is this: systems are the ultimate expression of care.
Systems are the ultimate expression of care. That completely flips the script on the heart-centered entrepreneur who thinks automation is cold.
It does, because we have this backwards idea that building an automated ecosystem is somehow dehumanizing your business. But the reality is that by automating, you are building a sustainable container for your legacy.
Right.
You are ensuring that your clients are held and guided and supported with excellence, regardless of whether you, the founder, are awake, asleep, healthy, or completely burnt out.
Because if your care relies solely on your physical presence and your energy levels on any given day, your care is actually incredibly fragile.
Exactly, it's fragile.
I hear that, but I can also hear the immediate friction from the listener who is wrestling with letting go of control.
Of course, it's a huge leap.
Like, if you remove yourself from the day-to-day friction, how do you trust that your authority still exists when you aren't physically in the room to enforce it?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah, if I automate my client onboarding, or if I let my team handle, say, conflict resolution, how do I know my clients won't feel like they're just being passed off to a robot?
Yeah.
It sounds almost like we were talking about shifting from being a helicopter parent, hovering over every detail to make sure nothing goes wrong, to institutionalizing our care.
Well, that transition from helicopter parenting to institutionalized care is the exact mechanism of scaling. In Gina's framework, this is described as the shift from manual authority to structural authority.
Manual versus structural. Let's break down the difference, because I think that is vital.
Okay, so manual authority requires you to constantly overfunction just to prove your value. You have to be in the room, answering the specific question, fixing the tiny bug, personally soothing the client.
So your authority is generated by your physical labor in the moment.
Yes.
And structural authority.
Structural authority is creating an environment where your authority works for you 24/7. The rules, the boundaries, the onboarding portals, the standard operating procedures, they uphold your high standards automatically.
Automatically. So I don't have to be there.
Right. A clear refund policy that a client agrees to in an automated portal, that is structural authority.
Got it. And me answering DMs at 2:00 a.m. to explain the refund policy because I'm afraid they will be mad at me,
Yeah.
that's manual authority.
Exactly. Structural authority means you don't have to exhaust yourself to maintain order and excellence.
Okay, I think any listener who is tired of being the bottleneck in their own company wants structural authority.
Definitely.
But, understanding this intellectually is vastly different from changing the physical, biological reactions of our bodies.
Oh, entirely different.
Because if I intellectually know I should let my team handle an angry email, but my heart is pounding out of my chest, and I feel like I'm going to throw up if I don't intervene, my intellect isn't going to win.
No, biology wins every time.
So how do we actually put this into practice? How do we rewire our biological responses so we don't immediately self-sabotage?
That is where the practical application comes in. And Gina provides a brilliant, highly uncomfortable exercise for this called the sovereignty assessment.
Sovereignty assessment, okay.
It takes this entire conversation out of the realm of theory and drops it right into the biology of your body.
Walk us through it. What is the very first step of the sovereignty assessment?
The first step is to look at your daily operations and identify the tasks that you hold onto as a safety blanket.
A safety blanket. What are the characteristics of a safety blanket task?
They are tasks that are high friction but low genius. They do not require your unique brilliance, your vision, or your leadership.
So busy work.
Pretty much. You are doing them simply because clicking the button or answering that specific low-level email or manually tweaking the colors on a graphic for the 5th time gives you a momentary hit of control.
Oh, wow.
You are choosing to do because you are afraid to steward.
Ouch. Okay, so we identify that low genius task. What's the next step?
The practice is incredibly simple but deeply challenging. You choose just one of these safety blanket tasks, and you automate it, or you delegate it entirely.
Just hand it over.
Hand it over to a system or to a team member. And then, and this is the absolute crux of the work, you must deeply notice the physical sensation in your body when you let it go, and you do not intervene.
Ah, the post-boundary hangover, the guilt.
Yes, the hangover.
I know this feeling intimately, and I know our listeners do too. When you finally hand over that task, you are going to feel it physically. Your chest is going to tighten, your stomach might drop.
You'll want to take it back immediately.
You're going to have this frantic, almost compulsive urge to log back into the software and check if the system did it right and just jump right back into the trenches. But here's my question.
Yeah.
doesn't that physical panic usually convince people that scaling is a mistake?
Hmm.
If I delegate a task and immediately feel intense anxiety, isn't my intuition telling me that I've made a bad business decision?
That is the exact trap, and it is the precise reason why the invisible ceiling exists. This raises the most important takeaway of our entire discussion.
Which is?
That physical sensation, that contraction in your chest, that wave of guilt, the sweaty palms, is not a warning that you're doing something wrong in your business. It is not your intuition telling you to go back to manual labor.
What is it then?
It is simply your old neural wiring activating. It is an outdated biological survival program firing off because it senses a loss of manual control. We really need to talk about somatic capacity here.
Yes. Let's break that down for the listener who isn't a neurobiologist. What exactly is somatic capacity?
So soma just means body. So your somatic capacity is your body's physical ability, your window of tolerance to hold a specific emotion without snapping into fight or flight mode.
Okay, I follow.
In this case, it is your physical ability to sit with the extreme discomfort of letting go of control without acting on it.
So what do you do in that exact moment? Like when the chest tightens, the stomach drops, and the internal autoimmune system is trying to attack the new delegation.
You breathe through it. You literally sit still. You stay sovereign while you move forward.
Just sit with it.
Yes. By sitting with that physical contraction in your chest and intentionally not acting on it, you are literally forcing your neural pathways to rewire. You are proving to your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, that the threat of an unread email or an automated onboarding sequence isn't going to kill you.
You have to ride out the panic.
You have to remind your own nervous system, I am safe, and my authority is structural, not manual. You sit in the discomfort until the nervous system realizes that the world didn't end just because you didn't click the button yourself.
You starve the old habit of its reward.
Exactly, and you build a new pathway.
This is really where the work becomes tangible. I mean, we spent this time dissecting the mechanics of nervous system capacity and the necessity of sovereign boundaries, but...
Well, let's be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest. You cannot sustain an elite business container if your internal system still perceives a client's temporary discomfort as, like, a literal threat to your own survival. It's, well, going back to the start, it's akin to constructing a multi-million-pound skyscraper on a foundation of shifting sand.
It really is.
If you have felt that invisible ceiling of compromise today, where you continue to over-deliver simply to maintain the peace, you aren't broken.
You are merely patterned.
You are merely patterned. And today, you are taking full responsibility for re-architecting that internal container.
Exactly. And that realization is the perfect bridge into the work Gina Pickersgill is doing. She is moving beyond generic boundary scripts or, surface-level strategy.
Yeah.
She is teaching high-performing leaders how to rewire the actual neurobiological frequency of their wealth and their somatic capacity.
And for the listener wondering what neurobiological frequency means in practice, it's exactly what we just described.
Yes, exactly.
It is changing the literal recurring electrical and chemical patterns in your brain so your default setting is no longer panic and micromanagement.
Spot on. So, if you are ready to cease the energetic leaks and finally release the post-boundary hangover of guilt, look to the resources in the description right now.
What's the first one they should look for?
First, the Heal Your Money Wounds workshop. This is your primary space to expand exactly what your nervous system feels safe to hold, receive, and contain without triggering that unconscious contraction.
And there's a second tool she offers that I find fascinating, specifically for the coaches and mentors listening.
Oh, yes. Second, for the coaches and mentors, I encourage you to use her AI-driven Burden to Boundary Coach assessment.
That one is so cool.
It's a precision tool designed to analyze your specific operational language patterns, showing you exactly where your private life force is being drained by client interactions.
But before you click those links and dive into the assessments, take a moment to do the sovereign thing right here. If this perspective shifted something in your body today, hit the like button. It signals to the collective field that this is the frequency we are operating at. Subscribe and enable notifications because in 2026, operating with absolute internal alignment isn't merely an option, it is the only way to scale sustainably. Now, go reclaim your space. We'll see you in the next one.
And before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Oh, lay it on them.
We've talked entirely about business today, but if your business is truly a mirror of your nervous system's capacity, take a look at your personal relationships tonight. What structural boundaries are missing in your private life that are secretly teaching your brain you must over-deliver just to be loved? Are your personal foundations built on solid bedrock, or are they too resting on shifting sand?
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs, the things that hold you back, is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up something, possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video, it means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky